Look how obnoxious this is. It's so dysfunctional too. I look like a shark. Hello. Okay, so do you remember 5 months ago when everyone was making the J.W. Anderson cardigan? I'm late to the party. Also, apologies if the audio quality isn't good. This is a $2 mic that I bought on Shopee. It was cheap. Okay, and a real quick note while editing, I basically did not know how to crochet, saw the cardigan, fell in love, decided to crochet completely from scratch, and this is the first project that I started. Not the first I finished, because I got lazy halfway and started making simpler things like the headband and the mask, yeah. So not the first project finished, but the first I started. So I still consider this my first project, and yeah, I didn't know a single thing. I learned everything myself, and here's how I made it. So if you want to make it, we can make it together. Yay! Okay, so we start with a pattern. I didn't understand the one that J.W. Anderson gave, so I made my own. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make 5 panels. So 2 panels for the sleeves, 2 panels for the front, and 1 panel for the back. So the length of it will be in total 30 inches for the front and back, and the sleeves are 16 inches by 16 inches. So what you're gonna need is 4 by 4 inch squares and 4 by 6 inch rectangles. So the squares goes to the sleeves and the rectangles goes to making the front and back panels. Actually, if you count the total, you're gonna need 92 squares, which is like 20 more than what J.W. Anderson says you will need, and that's because I added an extra column for the sleeves on each side and also an extra row at the bottom of the front and back because I want it really oversized. So if you don't want it oversized, you're free to follow the other one and make less squares so it's less hellish for yourself, but yeah, I did this to me, so I can't complain. So here are the materials that you'll need. And you'll also need buttons. So for the buttons that I used, I got really oversized ones that were bigger than regular buttons, and I did that because I had a special plan for them, which I'll show you later. Also, to make this, you're gonna have to learn 3 types of crochets. So the first is a single crochet, which goes into making all the squares and rectangles. The second would be the houndstooth / Jacquard ones, and the last one would be slip stitch ribbing to make the stretchy ribbing at the bottom. Now we'll learn our first crochet, which is the single crochet. But instead of showing it to you on these yarns, I'm going to use a chunkier yarn, like it's thicker, so that it's easier to see. Here we go. So what you want to do is start with a slip knot. So what you do is you take the yarn, make 2 loops on your finger, take the first loop, bring it behind the second loop, and tuck it under. So tuck it under, and then you grab onto both ends and you pull. And that gives you a slip knot. So what you want to do is fit your crochet hook through it. So we'll do that again. 2 loops, take the first loop, bring it behind, tuck it under, and yeah, there are a lot of ways to do a slip knot, but I prefer to use this way. So yeah, get your crochet hook through, and to increase the tension, what you want to do is pull on the longer string. I like having the shorter piece of yarn facing me, and I like to hold on to that while I work so that I can work the tension right. So pull on the crochet hook for more slack, pull on this to make it tighter. So what you want to do is, to begin crocheting, you put the yarn over your hook, which is called yarn over, and then you pull through your loop, and that's your first loop. So do that again, yarn over, pull through, that's 2 loops, yarn over, through, 3, 4, 5, 6. So typically, if you want to make a line of 5 stitches, you have to chain 6. So it's essentially how much you want minus 1. And then to start on your second row, you need to go into the back loops. So instead of working into this first loop that you already have, the one which your current loop is on, you want to go to the one behind that, which is this one. So you want to put your crochet hook through, which is also why you don't want to make the loops too tight. So you have to work the tension just right if you don't want to get stuck, because you need to be able to push your crochet hook through. So yeah, once you push your crochet hook through, yarn over, pull through, and now you have 2 loops on your hook, and you yarn over again and pull through both loops. And then you keep doing that. So the trick to see which loop you need to go into next is the one that's kind of stretched out already, is the one that you've just been through, because you can see all the things, all the yarn on it. So the next one is this one. So what you want to do is put your crochet hook through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. And then you keep doing that. So make sure you count as you go. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once you get to the end, you're going to want to turn your work around. And how you do that is yarn over, pull through, and that's called chain 1. Turn it around, and then you go work into the loops again. So make sure you work into 5 loops. So go through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through both. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. And to turn your work around again, your chain 1, and there we go. And you just keep doing that until you get it to your desired length. Okay, so here's where I stupidly forgot to tell you how to stop crocheting. So what you need to do is leave about 1 inch or 2 at the end of your yarn, cut it off, and then take your crochet hook out and put your yarn through where your crochet hook was, pull it tight, and that will be it. I'm sorry that I don't have a video of it, but I will link a useful video and hopefully that would be of help. Sorry, I'm new to this. Now we'll work on the houndstooth / Jacquard pattern. Mine was not a regular houndstooth, so I can link a video of a regular houndstooth below, but I did mine more Jacquard and irregular. So what I did first was chain a first row of 18 and then start on the second row normally. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and I do that for a few more times. I get the black, which is in a mess. Okay, and then I get the black, and what I do is I put my crochet hook through the loop that I'm going to go through. I take the black yarn, pull it through, and then I pull on this so that there's space, and I take my crochet hook out. So what I do now is to tie this black yarn onto the chain that I've been making. So I just tie a knot like so. Then afterwards I put my crochet hook back through and pull on the red one. And there we go. And then I put through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and on the next one I go through it. Instead of using the red to yarn over, I use the black. Yarn over and then pull through both, and then we'll do that again on another loop. Go into the back loop, yarn over, pull this through, and what you want to do is make sure that the 2 strings lie flat on top of your chain so that they can be crocheted in. So now I switch back to red, sorry, and I make sure that the black is flat on top. I yarn over and pull through, and then I do a few more reds, making sure that all the ends of the black are tucked in so that so that they can be crocheted into the work. So how I do it is actually just random. I go by feel. Instead of doing a regular pattern, I really prefer if the houndstooth was a little bit more random. So yeah, go through again, and then we'll just use black again, yarn over, pull through, make sure the red is on top of the chain, yarn over, pull through the black, then we'll do this again, and then afterwards push through, and then we'll switch to red. So basically you just want to do the same thing that you've been doing for your regular crochets, except with an extra yarn. Okay, when you get to the end, chain one, turn your work around, and then make sure that all the yarns sit on top of your chain and keep going. Also, your yarn is going to get a little twisted, so you just try to keep them next to each other and make sure there's enough slack. It's kind of annoying, but you know, it'll be fine eventually. So here you can see the end of the black that got crocheted in, and you can just take a scissors and cut it out. There we go. Smooth. And then just work it through each other, which is annoying. Anyway, once you keep going, it'll look something like this. And when you want to finish off, so what I like to do is start and finish off with just pure red line. So what you do is you lay the black here and you just keep crocheting normally. Honestly, you can snip it off here and then just crochet it into your work. So if I want to do that, I'm going to snip it off like here with the black just dangling there, and we'll just keep crocheting it into, making sure that it lays on top of what you've already done. That is typical. Okay. And there we go. And then you have your houndstooth piece. So you can cut it off here, and then we have the houndstooth. Okay, so now what we're going to work on is the, yep, my scissors broke. Let's just appreciate this for a second. It legit just snapped in half. I don't know how or why, but away with you. Okay, so what we're going to work on is the ribbing for the cuffs and the hem of the jacket. So what you're gonna do is tie your slip knot. And again, I'm using 5mm yarn, so you need to chain it to the height For me, I think I chained 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here we have 8. And in your second row, you're gonna do exactly the same thing that you've done. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, 2. So, oops, keep going. Okay, so once you get to the end, here's where it's a little bit tricky. So you chain 1 and turn your work over. Instead of going through the loops like we usually do, we sort of want to face the top. I think I'm going to zoom in for this. So yeah, instead of you going here through here as usual, you're going to want to flip it to the upside where you can see the chains. And you're going to go through this loop. So just get through the top chain, pull it, yarn over, pull through, so you have 2, and then you just pull this loop through the first one. It's a little bit tricky. Haha! There we go. And then you do that again for the second loop. So this is called a slip stitch. There we go. And now this is the last one. Get through it, pull through, and then you're going to chain 1, turn your work around again. Make sure you look at the top, so not here, but the top line. And then get to it. Oopsies. This is significantly trickier than regular crochet, so just take your time. I hate this. Switch to a smaller one. So through the top loop, pull through. I hate this. Okay, and this is the last loop. Make sure you go through the whole thing. There we go. Yarn over, through both. And then you keep going, but it will become stretchy. Sorry, I'm not going to film this because it's really hard to see and I need it really close to my face because I'm essentially an old person. So yeah. So now that you've finished crocheting your 92 squares and 5 pieces of ribbing, you can now start on your sewing and assembling journey. So what you want to do is make sure you lay everything on the ground according to the pattern earlier, and from there what you can see is 5 distinct panels. So you have your 2 sleeve panels on either side, your 2 front panels which you lay on top of your back panel. So what you want to do is to attach them on the shorter ends first for the rectangles before eventually sewing them all together downwards on the long ends. So you make like these noodle things. For the sleeves, it's about the same. You crochet them this direction and then afterwards you sew them all together. And then you get noodly long boys like these. Yeah, sewing was a grueling process really, and here's a time lapse of me doing it, but it was just quite hellish. Also, I accidentally did it wrongly, so I had to cut them loose in the end, so focus while you do this and do not be me and make my mistakes. Okay, so once you've sewn it all together, you will get a finished front panel, and then we can start working to attach the cuff together. So we'll slip stitch ribbing that you made earlier, and we'll attach it to the bottom of the hem. So you'll notice that the ribbing is actually shorter, but that's okay. So first you put your crochet hook through the bottom of the ribbing, and you sort of want it to be right sides facing together. If that doesn't make sense to you, it basically means that you want the seam on the inside, because when you crochet it together you'll have a seam. So get it through your front panel, pull a string through, knot it off, and then you can start crocheting it together. I take really long to tie knots. So once you get the knot, put your crochet hook through again, and then what you want to do is chain 1. Afterwards, working into the next loop for the ribbing, and also getting your crochet hook through the second loop of your panel of crochet. Once you get your loop through, what you're going to want to do is to yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through again, going into the same loop for your slip stitch ribbing. So the second loop for your slip stitch ribbing and the third loop for your crochet panels. So basically it is just a single crochet throughout the whole area, but at the same time what you want to do is to make sure that you gather it, because your slip stitch ribbing is much shorter than your crochet panel. So each slip stitch ribbing would need like 2 or 3 single crochets that attaches it to the panel, and every time it increases in number. So I think what I did was about alternate between 2 or 3. So if that makes sense, it means that on your second loop for your slip stitch ribbing, you will have the second loop and third loop for your crochet panel. On your third loop for your slip stitch ribbing, you're going to have your 4th, 5th, and 6th loop for the crochet panel. And it depends how bunched up you really want it. You can make your slip stitch ribbing longer. I wanted mine to look a little bit like bunched in because I didn't want it to look so square as a silhouette. So that's what I did, and basically it's up to you whether you want to count. I did not want to count. Honestly, you could have made it match 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, but I just did it my way and it worked, so there we go. And you literally just keep doing single crochets all the way and connecting it to the end, and that's about it. It's actually pretty simple. Bunch it as much as you want, don't, it's up to you. Once you're done with that, you'll more or less have a finished front panel. Afterwards, you do this for the other side also, and to attach the cuffs to the sleeves, you also use the same logic, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, because first what we need to do is attach the front and the back. So what you want to do is lay them down as per normal, and then afterwards you're going to want to open them outwards, and then you sew them or crochet them along the shoulder seams, but remember to leave space for the neckline where your neck is going to be. Okay, so for the shoulder seam, it was the same idea again. Have them right sides facing together while you sew or crochet them. I decided to crochet them because it didn't matter whether the seams were obvious or not because it's on the inside. And you do the exact same for the other side, remembering to make sure you leave at least half of the middle panel open so that you have a neck hole to fit your neck through. And aside from that, yeah, that's about it. And then we can go on to attaching the sleeves because the sleeve panels were significantly more confusing. Okay, so if we refer back to this, you can see that the colors on the side are green, black, yellow, red. And here it's black, red, green, yellow. Okay, so here we have green, black, yellow, red, black, red, green, yellow. So this is what the sleeve is supposed to look like from the outside. So what you want to do is, if you fold it, this is what the correct way of the sleeve would look like. So this would be the front and this would be the back. So green, orange is the front two panels and red, black are the back ones. So you're going to open it like this and match the seam up here and here, and then you're going to attach it along here. So I decided to sew it together rather than crochet because it is better, and what I did was to take a pin and just mark where the seams match up and hold it there, and then from there pin down the rest of the seams, although it's come apart quite a bit. So once I've sewn them together, I lay them down on the ground again, so when you close it, when you flip it together, this is what it'll look like when it's finished. Now what you want to do is turn that inside out so that when you sew it together, your seams will be on the inside. So you're going to want to open it up and then pinch it at the seams where you sewed it, and then lay it flat again so that right on top you can see the shoulder seams where it is. And you lay the sides so that the sides are perfectly meeting each other. And now what you want to do is crochet or sew along the sides. And you want to sew from the armpit across and then from the armpit there. So it's like two directions diverging outwards. And afterwards you're going to attach the sleeve cuff to the sleeve. And once you're done with all of that, you'll have a more or less finished piece, and you're going to just add the finishing touches. So what you're going to want to do is use your blue yarn and basically crochet the buttonhole and buttons. So for the left side we'll crochet upwards, and for the right side we'll crochet downwards. So it looks something like this. And then afterwards you're going to sew on your buttons and also add buttonholes so that they're functional. So what you're going to want to do is just start from the end of your slip stitch ribbing, slip your crochet hook through. As usual, you're going to want to pull your yarn through, tie a knot, so your crochet hook goes through again, and you're going to yarn over and chain one. Once you do that, you're going to continue single crocheting into the other loops all the way upwards. Basically why you do this is so that the uglier side stays on the inside, and it's the same method of single crochets. So go through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I changed angles because it was getting dark and ugly, and yeah, basically I just single crocheted all the way along the edges. So to make the button lapel, what you're going to do is just make 4 or 5 rows of that. For myself, I did go around the second time and use like half double crochets and double crochets, but honestly you don't need to. So once you have that done for the left side, you're going to want to do the right side. When you do the right side, after your second or third row of crochets, you're going to want to stop so that you can crochet the buttonholes. One side will have the buttons and the other side with the buttonholes. And here's where we bring in the buttons. I actually painted mine to look like the Fine Line album cover because I had free time and I was bored, so I thought it was cute. Lay the buttons flat exactly where you want it and sew them down. So once you have that, you're going to line up both sides equally so that you can see exactly where the buttonhole needs to be. Once you do that, crochet as you would normally until you get to where the button starts. And once you're there, what you're going to do is just chain about 3, 4, or 5, depending on how big your button is. If your button is smaller, you just chain 1 or 2. But you're just going to chain without working into the single crochets that you already have. So what you want to do is count the exact same number of chains away. So for myself, I chained 5. I'll work into the 6th loop and then I'll just keep single crocheting. And that would make a functional buttonhole. And if you want, you can go back once or twice to make sure it's like more stable, but that's how you do it. And once you get there, you're completely done with your project, and this is how it should look.
Honestly, I have no idea if this is actually the correct way to do it, but you know, it works and I made it, so yay! Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it's helpful in some way. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I will try my best to answer everything. And yeah, just have a good day, you know. See ya!